Here on Treaty 7 territory, nestled in the Rocky Mountains with the mighty Bow River at an altitude of 1,309 meters. Born from coal dust in 1884 and ever-changing, this is Canmore, and we are Canmorites, and this is the Canmorite Podcast. Let's go! Hey there, welcome back to the Canmorite Podcast. It's me, Jeff Ma, and we've got a bit of a fun episode today. We're going to actually do a letter in from a reader. Now, this showed up in my council inbox, and I checked in with the person that wrote, and they're totally fine with me using this as an example. We just kind of changed some of the names, and let's talk about the letter, because I think there's some cool stuff we can learn here. Hey Jeff / Councillor Ma, I'm a Canmore resident since 2022, but I've lived in the Bow Valley since 2014. You may remember me from attending a few of your classes at the Yoga Lounge with my wife. Anyways, after 1 year of marriage, congratulations, my partner and I are talking about what's next. Starting a family, preferably in Canmore. The question that we are facing, and we know that we're not alone, is if and how we can make that dream a reality. This is all very new to us, and I really don't know what I don't know. So I thought of reaching out to you to get some advice on where to start and what questions we need to ask ourselves in order to figure out what is feasible. So, for background, we are already very fortunate to own a 2-bedroom condo in Canmore, which has gone up in value significantly since our purchase in 2022 with help from family. We both work full-time salary jobs in the 65 to 80K range, which allows us to live comfortably enough now. All that said, our condo is not big enough for us to grow into if we want to start a family. And my wife feels that moving to Cochrane is the most viable option. And while Cochrane will present the personal space that would make raising a family a lot easier, we'd be losing the amazing community, lifestyle, and so much more in Canmore. Ultimately, we want to make sure we are turning over every stone and doing our due diligence before making any decision that would take us out of the Bow Valley. I know you're incredibly busy and don't expect you to map out a 5 to 10 year plan for us. And I also realize a lot of this info can be found online. I don't want to create unnecessary work for you. But if you do have a few minutes, some things I would love to better understand are: what resources should we be aware of that could support us as we make this transition? Do you have any examples of success stories from other young families in a similar situation who made this dream a reality? How'd they do it? And any other advice? Thanks for all you do. Appreciate it, and we love the podcast. Sincerely, hopeful future Canmore dad. Well, first off, hopeful future Canmore dad, this is a super thoughtful letter, and it's really well written, and I think it's representative of stuff that a lot of people in our community are trying to figure out. And so these are my thoughts. The first thing is, you and your partner, you are super lucky that you've had help from your parents to get into housing, especially that first home. It's kind of like the sad truth that right now in this day and age, without intergenerational wealth, it's really hard to buy a home, right? If your folks can't help you out a bit with that little piece, it is a big step, right? But you're in the game, which is awesome. Otherwise, I'd recommend programs like CCH, Canmore Community Housing, getting on those wait lists where there's the rental program or the buy program, and patiently kind of stick it out until something comes up. Now, you talk about moving to Cochrane, you say that Cochrane's not going to be the same as Canmore, and that is definitely true. Just because, they're about an hour away, they are very, very different communities. And I think lifestyle, like you said, it is a mega piece. You guys have been here since at least 2014, and you know how great it can be to live in the mountains. You've probably heard it before. I've said it before to friends. Canmore is an amazing place to live, but it's not an easy place to live. Now, I've also known, anecdotally, and probably you have, and so for you guys at home, there's a lot of people who left Canmore to go to other places. People go to the island, they go to Cochrane, they go to Calgary, Okotoks, they go up Valley, Golden, etc. People go all sorts of places. But one thing that I've seen in a lot of situations is the people that have left, a lot of them, they want to come back. That's true. And one of the things is it's tough to pull stakes and come back into Canmore. If you have a place that you're already in, that's huge. If you're in a situation where you're going to do a real estate transaction where you're selling and buying, those sort of transaction fees on the front and back end, you can have to be in a place for a whole bunch of years before you can justify that sort of expenditure to make another move back. And one of the really crappy situations, and I've seen it happen a lot, people have had a place here, they left, maybe they sold something, went somewhere else, tried it for a little bit, realized that je ne sais quoi about Canmore that they loved wasn't where they were, and they wanted to come back. And by that point, the inventory of housing that is available has changed, or worse yet, they've even actually been priced out. And that's really a tough one to do. So coming back to your guys' situation, I would stick it out where you guys are right now. Having a baby, it's not like that. It's not necessarily a given. Perhaps you and your wife, you're incredibly fertile and boom, you'll be prego in no time, but it might not happen right away. It actually might take a bunch of years. And to me, that would be a nightmare situation, to leave a place that you adore to live in, set up in another community, and the kid doesn't come, right? Or it takes a lot longer than you think. And those are the sort of situations that can be really tough on relationships. And the other thing too is that kids, when you first have them, they don't really take up that much space, especially in those early days. If you're blessed to have a little one, and I got my fingers crossed for you, they'll probably be sleeping in your own room for a while, right? And eventually, you guys noted you have a 2-bedroom condo, they can move into that other bedroom. And so you're probably good. I remember my first daughter, she was totally fine, right, in her own room. You got at least 3, 4, or 5 years. Yeah, maybe if you decide to have a second kid, it gets a lot tighter with the bunk bed situation. But again, that's down the road. And I've been to Asia, I've been to Europe, I've been to all sorts of places. And families make a go of it quite happily in places that are not that big. I think it's a bit of a North American thing where we're kind of conditioned to think we need X amount of space. I would push back on that a little bit. Now, the other thing I want you guys to contemplate is you mentioned that both of you have careers and you're making in that range between 65 to 80K. You're in that zone right now where, because you're younger, your career should still be ascending. So what you're making right now, I would challenge you to be, hey, go back to your jobs, test the market, and just understand what's the upward mobility where you're working. See, are there other employers that can also work with you? What sort of skills can you level up so that eventually you're moving up from that 65 to 80K through gaining skill set, promotion, working harder, taking on different projects, literally maturing into your career, which should come with it an increase in salary. And so, even if you were pregnant right away, you still got 3, 4, 5 years to steadily grow and increase your earning potential, which I would expect something would happen. And when you have, that much more earning potential, the game changes, right? That's a big piece. You might find that you have a lot more housing options start to open up as your careers advance. And let's come back to say some success stories. Well, I could personally say that I feel I'm one of those. My wife and I, we left the city to come out to Canmore about 13 years ago to make that first strong decision to raise a family here. And I gotta say, it's probably been one of the best decisions, if not the best decision of my life. The air here is good. There's a small town vibe. It's super safe. There's an amazing community, as you alluded to. And the things that we love to do are amply available here. I get it. I don't have a single family home. I gave up on that, and I don't have a big fence in the backyard with a ton of grass. But at the same time, I have the best backyard ever. It's here in Canmore. I can go out, be on my bike, on the trails, meet people that I enjoy, and just the Bow Valley, Canmore, as you know, is the best backyard ever, right? Now, in terms of other success stories, there are lots of families making it happen. Like I said, it's not easy, but they're out there. You just have to take a look at the list of the daycares to get in. That's another story for another episode. Lots of families are making a go of it, and it's one of those pieces where if it's something that's important to you, a lot of times you'll find a way to make it work. People hustle. That's part of the Canmore way right now. But you guys strike me as smart people, resourceful, and I think you'll find a way to make it happen. Now, coming back towards this idea of supports, I think one of the biggest supports is one that is pretty special. Is the fact that your parents are willing to help you guys out. That's big, big, big. You've already made that first leap into housing. I would have recommended Canmore Community Housing, but because you already have that housing piece, I don't think that's is probably a viable option. Sometimes there's rumors in the community that people are doing some quirky stuff to kind of take advantage of the program, game the system, find a loophole, etc. Just know I serve on the CCH board, And one of the biggest things on our most recent strategic plan was we are going to lock down any sort of situations for loopholes as we move forward into the new year. So situations on the asset test, prioritizing who gets into housing, all those sorts of pieces, they're going to have a deep dive look, so to make sure we keep things fair and that the intent of that program is equitable, but also at the same time is meant to make a true opportunity for families and long-term locals to make this place work and to grow our community. Okay. Now, another interesting thing you should know about is we have the Affordable Services Program. If you head in, and that's run by FCCS, which their office is in the Canmore Civic Center. If you go in there, you can talk to them. They can look at your income. And there are various levels of programs that we can help. For example, there's various services that are provided by the town of Canmore at a discounted rate. There's also a whole host of really caring businesses that also are willing to take their services and offer them at various discounts. For example, I know the Yoga Lounge does something for memberships. Councillor Graham at Float, he's got stuff there. And there's like a whole host of other businesses. So basically what I'm saying is that although having a kid is expensive and it's challenging, there are still ways that you can have a meaningful, great lifestyle. Okay, and that's a big piece. And so I just want you to also come back and remember Hopeful Dad in Canmore. You're already winning. There are a ton of folks from the city, Cochrane, other communities. They come out here on a day trip or on the weekend, right? And they walk around and they think, what would it be like to raise a family here, right? And then they take a look at how much housing costs. They're like, holy crap! But you already have that right now. You guys have a place. You're set up. You're already winning. There are so many people that would happily trade, their bigger home situation to have a chance to be here in a smaller place, but to live and raise their kids in, Canmore. It's mega. So I hope that was helpful. And that's actually kind of fun and interesting because, we're answering stuff that really is meaningful to you guys, the listeners. So if there's something that you want me to talk about in a future letter, get in touch. You can email me at JAY, D as in dog, U, B as in Bob, MAH @gmail.com, or you can send it to my council email. If it makes sense, I'll ask for your permission and we can make a bit of a podcast episode of it and cover another topic. So maybe that'll be another letter down the road. So thank you so much. A couple other things for updates at this time. I'm ramping up my campaign for the civic election. There's still a couple more days for people to get their nominations in, but from what I've seen, we've got more people interested than there are spots. There's definitely going to be a contest. I'm not going to lie, campaigning is not a ton of fun. Kind of have flashbacks to junior high or high school trying to get onto council then, and there's all those sort of, triggering points and stuff. My website is going to start coming out soon. There's going to be a sign campaign. You'll see me at the market pretty soon. I'll be there around lunchtime, so you can come up, ask questions, see how you can support, bring up things that are important to you, etc. So if everyone at home, don't forget, the civic election for all across Alberta is Monday, October 20th. It's really, really important that you vote. If there are issues that really matter to you, find the candidates that resonate with that and vote for them and get them in. I think right now, Canmore still is at that crossroads, and it's really important to vote for councillors to support ways to make this place livable. Livability, I think, is a mega piece, and it's kind of what I feel humbly is what's going to keep this community great. Just like we have, writers coming in, such as Future Dad Canmore. This is how we create a really amazing Canmore for decades to come. So that's it. Me signing out from the Canmore podcast for this week. Probably another episode coming up soon, but in the meantime, stay safe and be well. Cheers.